Adrian, the only son of a powerful billionaire, had lived his entire life surrounded by wealth, comfort, and privilege. Nothing had ever been out of his reach: cars, mansions, or even entire companies. Everything was always a command away. But all of that changed in a single moment inside a luxurious hospital in Manila. The shining marble floors, expensive paintings on the walls, and the attentive staff did little to soften the blow of the doctor's words. Adrian sat frozen as the truth sank in. He had only 3 months left to live. His heart raced, his palms grew cold, and for the first time in his life, money meant nothing. He tried to reason with himself. Maybe his father would find a specialist abroad, maybe there was a treatment hidden somewhere in the world that could save him. But the expression on the doctor's face was final. There was no cure, no miracle money could buy. Adrian realized that his life, filled with luxury and endless opportunities, had an expiry date. The thought of dying so young was unbearable. He thought about the places he had never seen, the feelings he had never experienced, and the simple moments he had always ignored because he was too busy living like a prince. As he sat in silence, his father's influence and billions of pesos felt meaningless. For the first time, Adrian felt small, fragile, and utterly powerless. In that hospital room, surrounded by wealth, he discovered the one truth that terrified him most: time was priceless. Adrian left the doctor's office with his world shattered, each step echoing like a countdown toward the end. The lavish corridors of the Manila hospital felt suffocating. He had always believed that his father's money could solve everything, yet here he was, staring at the reality that no fortune could buy back time. His father tried to comfort him with promises of sending him abroad for treatment, but Adrian knew deep inside that the diagnosis was final. The clock had already started ticking. At night, as he sat by the window of his grand mansion in Makati, Adrian looked out at the city lights. From above, Manila glittered beautifully, but he couldn't help noticing the smaller, dimmer areas in the distance, the slums, where families lived in crowded streets with so little, yet somehow managed to smile. He had never once thought about them before. His entire life had been sheltered, insulated by luxury. But now, facing the end, those faint lights drew his attention. He wondered what life meant to those people. Did they fear death the way he did? Or did they simply embrace every day because they had no certainty of tomorrow? Adrian envied them, oddly enough. They seemed to value what he had never noticed: time, family, and love. As he stared into the night, he felt a strange pull, a desire to escape the golden prison he lived in. For once, he wanted to step into their world, not as a billionaire's son, but as a young man desperate to find meaning before his time ran out. The next morning, Adrian made a decision that surprised even himself. He told his driver to take him somewhere different, not to the usual luxury malls or private clubs, but to the crowded streets of Quezon City, where life was raw and real. As the car rolled through narrow alleys, he saw children running barefoot, their laughter echoing despite the poverty around them. Families cooked simple meals outside their small homes, neighbors shared food, and people greeted each other warmly. Adrian pressed his face against the window, fascinated. These people had so little, yet they seemed happier than he had ever been. Stopping at a busy corner, Adrian stepped out, trying to blend in though his designer clothes betrayed him instantly. That was when he noticed a young Filipina girl, Maria, pushing a small food cart filled with skewers and rice. Her hands were tired, her clothes plain, but her smile was bright as she called out to customers. Something about her drew him closer. He ordered from her cart, and to his surprise, she spoke to him kindly, as if he were just another ordinary boy. For the first time in his life, Adrian felt invisible wealth fade away. Maria didn't care who he was or how much money he had, she cared only about serving food to help her sick mother at home. Her sincerity touched him deeply. That day, eating her simple cooking on the street corner, Adrian felt warmth in his heart he hadn't felt in years. It was the beginning of a bond that would change everything. Adrian kept returning to Maria's food cart in Quezon City, drawn not by the meals but by her presence. Each visit revealed more of her world, a life so different from his own. She invited him to walk with her through the crowded streets, where children played with makeshift toys and families shared laughter despite having almost nothing. Adrian listened to her stories. How she dreamed of finishing school, how she worked tirelessly to support her ill mother, and how faith kept her strong even on the hardest days. One evening, as they sat outside a small church lit by candles, Maria noticed his silence. She asked why his eyes always carried sadness, and in that moment, Adrian told her the truth. He confessed the doctor's words, the 3 months he had left, and the emptiness he felt despite all his riches. Maria did not flinch, nor did she ask for money. Instead, she reached out, holding his hand gently, and promised that he wouldn't face the end alone. From then on, Maria filled his days with simple joys, cooking him warm meals, taking him to community gatherings, and praying with him in quiet corners of Cebu City when he insisted on traveling. With her, he discovered laughter in little things and peace in moments of prayer. For the first time since his diagnosis, Adrian felt alive again. Maria gave him something his wealth never could. Comfort, hope, and a reason to keep smiling even as time slipped away. On his final night, Adrian and Maria sat beneath the stars on a quiet rooftop overlooking the lights of Manila. The city shimmered below them, a mix of towering skyscrapers and humble homes, a reminder of the two worlds that had brought them together. Adrian's breaths were weaker now, his voice softer, but his eyes glowed with a peace he had never known before. He turned to Maria, his hand trembling as he held hers tightly. "You gave me something I never thought I'd find," he whispered, his eyes filling with tears. "I lived my whole life surrounded by wealth, yet I never truly lived. But you showed me joy in simplicity, strength in faith, and love without asking for anything in return." His voice broke, but Maria pressed his hand against her heart, her own eyes glistening. She told him that even if his days were numbered, his memory would remain in every corner of her life. In the laughter they shared, in the food they enjoyed together, and in the prayers they whispered side by side. Adrian's tears fell freely, not from fear, but from gratitude. As the night deepened, he rested his head gently on Maria's shoulder, the city lights fading in his sight. For the first time, he wasn't afraid of the end. Surrounded not by luxury, but by love, Adrian left the world in peace. And Maria, the poor Filipina girl who had given him life's greatest gift, silently vowed to carry his story in her heart forever.